Welcome to FPL Differential XI, a series where we pick a team of 11 lowly owned players who we predict to score the most points for the upcoming game week, to assist you in gaining substantial rank over other fantasy managers. There's just 3 rules. The squad must be worth no more than 82.5 million, each player must be owned by a maximum of 10% of total players in the game, and we're only allowed to pick a maximum of 3 players from a single team. A silhouette of each player we've selected is already on the pitch, so feel free to play along by seeing how many of the 11 you can correctly guess. To begin with, in goal I've gone for David Raya for Brentford's home match against Southampton. Over the last month or so, Brentford have performed exceptionally, with 3 clean sheets since Gameweek 17, while Southampton have never really got going. After his clean sheet against Leeds, Raya is now the second top goalkeeper in FPL with 91 points, which makes him a great budget option. Southampton have struggled to score goals throughout the entirety of the season, and you would have to say that Brentford look the favourites coming into this one. First up in defence, I've gone with Alex Moreno for Aston Villa's home game against Leicester. Villa have defended well since Unai Emery took charge a few months ago, and Leicester haven't been themselves in the goal scoring department so far this season. Alex Moreno is a recent addition to the Villa team, and looks to be nailed at left back due to a shoulder injury Luca Dean picked up a couple of game weeks ago. Moreno already seems to be a player who looks to get into advanced positions on the pitch when the opportunity presents itself, and against a leaky Leicester defence, he could find himself in good offensive positions this week. Another clean sheet for Newcastle last week against Palace meant that the last time they conceded in the Premier League was game week 15. For that reason, Dan Burn joins the team for his home game versus West Ham. Although the Hammers picked up a solid 2-0 win over Everton last weekend, they've been underwhelming so far this season, especially in attack. The fact that this is a home fixture for Newcastle reinforces the fact that I think they're likely to concede very few chances, and more than likely come out with a clean sheet. Burn currently sticks out as one of the best 4.5 million defenders in the game. The next player to make the team is our first double game week player, and it's Raphael Varane for Man United's home matches against Crystal Palace and Leeds. Although it was Martinez that scored a goal against Arsenal from a set piece, you would have to say that Varane is probably the bigger threat from those positions. United have kept 5 clean sheets from their last 6 home games, and that record is likely to continue against 2 teams who've struggled to score goals away from home this season. With players in the team like Fernandes and Eriksen who can deliver a good ball from a set piece, it's always possible that Varane could get his head to one of them and gain points from more than just clean sheets. The last player in defence this week is Zinchenko for Arsenal's away game versus Everton. At the start of the season, Zinchenko was Arteta's first choice left back over Kieran Tierney, and ever since he's returned from injury, it seems that he's still the manager's number 1 for that position. Everton are a team who have struggled in the scoring department, and despite conceding 2 goals last week, Arsenal have looked very solid in defence. Against Man United, Zinchenko played a very advanced role and continually found himself in dangerous positions. Against a weaker opponent in Everton this week, I fully expect him to continue playing that same role and perhaps even add an assist to the likely clean sheet. The first player to make the 4-man midfield is Mitoma for Brighton's home match against Bournemouth. This is the 3rd week in a row that Mitoma has made the differential 11, and he's yet to blank in that time. I'm fairly certain that soon we won't be able to include him here, as he'll be owned by over 10% of fantasy managers. He's such an exciting watch, always willing to take on his man and run in behind to create goal scoring opportunities. On the flip side, Bournemouth have struggled ever since the Premier League restarted, and although I expect them to sit deep in this game, they'll likely tire, which will create openings for the Brighton attack. One man that seems to have gone under the radar since his return to the Premier League is Christian Eriksen, and he makes the team for this week with his double game week versus Palace and Leeds. Eriksen seems to be a regular starter under Ten Hag, and with his creative role in the team, he often finds himself in more advanced positions on the pitch. At the moment, it also seems that he's sharing free kick and corner duties with Bruno Fernandes, which is just another avenue to points. I expect Man United to dominate possession in these two matches, and it's just a question of whether players like Eriksen can find the decisive passes to break down the opposition. Another double game week player makes the differential 11 this week, and it's Rodrigo for his games away to Nottingham Forest and Man United. Rodrigo set the league alight with his top performances in the first portion of the season, but since then his returns have dried up a considerable amount. Even so, I can't ignore a player who's returned 10 goals and 1 assist, usually plays out of position and has 2 matches this game week. It's very difficult to predict how Leeds will play from week to week this season, but what we know is that when they turn up in any game, they can play with high amounts of intensity. Rodrigo of course also has the added incentive of being on penalties. The final man to make the midfield this week is Riyad Mahrez for his away match against Tottenham. Just a few weeks ago, City managed to put 4 goals past Spurs, and Mahrez was without a doubt the best player on the pitch. Pep really seems to be favouring him ever since the Premier League restart in Gameweek 17, and during that time, he's returned in all but 1 game. To add to that, last week Mahrez was unlucky to score a goal that was ever so marginally ruled offside. With Phil Foden's current fitness reportedly not up to match standards, Mahrez looks to have a higher chance of starting each week in that left wing position. To begin with up front this week is Eddie Nketiah for Arsenal's away trip to Everton. Arsenal continued to push for the win last week against United, and Nketiah helped his team to get it by scoring a brace, although he was unlucky not to score more. Nketiah has been very impressive since he came in for Gabriel Jesus in Gameweek 17, and Arsenal are just creating a ton of chances against every opposition they face. Although there are multiple assets from the Gunners to consider, Nketiah is a great pick whilst he's such a differential within the game. The final player to make the team this week is Weghorst for United's double game week at home to Crystal Palace and Leeds. It hasn't been the easiest of introductions back into the Premier League for Weghorst, especially with that away defeat to Arsenal last week. However, Man United are looking good at home, and they'll most likely be the more attacking side in both of these fixtures. It looks like Ten Hag is looking to utilise Weghorst's aerial presence to knock balls through to the likes of Rashford. With Martial a constant injury doubt, Weghorst could get 2 full sets of 90 minutes against 2 struggling teams this game week. Just a quick reminder to let you know that your channel could feature here in the next video. To be in with a chance of winning a channel shout out in the next video, correctly predict the FPL points total of the team in today's video. Details will be down below in the pinned comment. Thanks for joining us on this week's video. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to avoid missing the next one, and I wish you all massive green arrows for the upcoming game week.